All right, what's going on? 3 o'clock chat here. The Trailblazers are on fire. They hammered the Jazz last night by 20. Portland has now won 5 of their last 6 and improved to 17-20 on the year. They're back at it tomorrow. The Rockets are in town for the first of 2 at Moda Center on Wednesday and Friday. Tip-off will be at 7. Blazers game day with Chris Burkhart live from Moda at 5 o'clock. The Trailblazers Ticket Tuesday is today. You can listen to me at 5 for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer game. The college football playoff will launch on Thursday. Ole Miss in Miami, 4:30 kick on ESPN. The Canes favored by 3 on Friday. The Ducks and Hoosiers rematch, 4:30 on ESPN. Indiana favored by 4. Join me. I'll be live at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports for the college football playoff. I'll have giveaways. We're going to hang out and watch all of the games. I'll be down there from 2 until 5. Trailblazer game. 2 things happened that were cool. Number 1, you just heard it. Mark Mason made the Trailblazer game. 2 things happened that were cool. Number 1, you just heard it. Mark Mason made the announcement during the game in arena that Travis had been awarded the AM. And then after the game, the Blazers hammered the Jazz. And then after the game, the Blazers hammered the Jazz by 20. He interviewed City Sissoko, and Sissoko, before they started talking hoop, congratulated Travis on the award. That took Travis back a little bit. It was pretty sweet. So big props to Trav, your 2025 Sportscaster of the Year. And I'm happy about it because I'm a radio guy. I love radio like Shacker. I grew up on it, and I believe it's the most beautiful medium. So anytime radio in today's world gets a little light shined on it, I'm all for it. You know, today it's all about the social media, the videos, and, of course, television, but nothing will ever compare to the beauty of radio and the spoken word, in my opinion. Now, what's going on, man? I'm excited about today's show. I feel better and better every day. Like, I was dog sick throughout Christmas, and so to be back to the point where I'm basically 100%, and last week I was able to work out again, but not a full 100% full go workout. I'll work out again tomorrow, but, man, I feel good. The mind is clear. I've been sleeping well. And I'm excited about the sports this week. It's great. The only thing that sucks, I'll tell you what really stinks to high heaven, and this is the one time where being in this business is not a good thing. It's when your team is in a position to play big games, but you've got other commitments because of the broadcasting, which means you have to try and multitask throughout the course of your work to be able to pay attention to the games that you care most about. So on Friday, we have the Ducks and the Hoosiers. The Oregon-Indiana rematch in the college football playoff semifinals, which is an awesome football game. Dan Lanning, Dante Moore, Kurt Signetti, Fernando Mendoza. And the reason why this matchup is so great, these are two of the best teams in the country by far. Indiana right now the best. And Indiana, no one believed in them until they went into Autzen and physically kicked the crap out of the Ducks and won that game. That's when people realized, like, oh, this team's pretty good. And then they finish off the year unbeaten. They hammered physically Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. And then they embarrassed Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Kurt Signetti right now is the hottest coach in all of sports. He's the best coach in college football. And Fernando Mendoza is the Heisman Trophy winner. Not too often the Ducks can line up and look across at the other sideline and think they may have the better coach and they may have the better quarterback. So Alex Brink is going to join us coming up here in about 15 minutes, and we'll break it all down. And here's my thought. I think there's an advantage for Oregon, and I'll ask Alex about this, having played Indiana and lost. I think they were caught off guard by their simulated pressures, by their defense, and the way they were able to get after Dante Moore. I think they were surprised by the physicality that the Hoosiers brought to the football field, and I think they were stunned at the efficiency and the big playmaking of Fernando Mendoza, who was Johnny on the spot in that win at Autzen. So I can't wait for the football game. And for you Duck fans out there right now, I know that you're popping rod because this team is best positioned of any of the other teams to win a national championship because of what they have up front on the offensive and defensive lines. And Dante Moore is a cool customer, man. Love Dante Moore. And love the physicality they showed in that Texas Tech game when they kicked their ass and shut them out 23-zip. So that game is awesome. The problem is there's a Blazer game that night. I mean, that is like the major kick in the package. So at 4:30 when the game kicks off, I'll be up at the Pines doing my show. And then when my show's over at 5, I got to head down to Section 113 and get ready for the Blazer broadcast. So I'll be multitasking. And it's going to be one of those rare nights where nobody in the entire arena is going to really care about what's going on with the basketball game because they're going to be focused on the Duck game. That's how that's going to go down. So it's going to be fun because everyone's going to be paying attention to the score, and everyone's going to be thinking about Indiana and Oregon, which is great. But I looked at the schedule ahead. The Broncos, of course, have the bye week because they're the number one seed. And to anyone out there that doesn't like it, you can suck it. I'm so happy that the Broncos are back at the top of the conference where they belong. They're going to play divisional round weekend. Well, guess what? That's either going to be on a Saturday or Sunday, and we'll find out who they're going to play coming up this weekend. Guess what? The Blazers were kind enough to have a back-to-back scenario on Saturday and Sunday of divisional round weekend. Now, the good news is if Denver does what I want them to do and they win and advance to championship Sunday, the Blazers do not play that weekend. So there you go. That is the dilemma, having to multitask when there's so many great football games going on. Think about this football weekend. We've had a lot of great ones throughout the course of this year, but this is like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like orgasmic. We have a college football playoff game at 4:30 on Thursday, Miami and Ole Miss, great matchup. Canes favored by 3. Then on Friday, we're going to launch into the Oregon-Indiana game, 4:30 on ESPN. Right now, the Hoosiers favored by 4. And if that wasn't enough, we wake up on Saturday and get ready for what's going to take place at 1:30 on Fox. Rams at the Panthers, wild card weekend, LA favored by 10. And this is a game that was played a couple of weeks ago. The Rams went into Carolina as a 10-point favorite and got worked and lost the game. At 5 o'clock on Saturday, the Packers and Bears on Prime. And right now, it's a pick'em scenario. Packers and Bears, the rivalry's been going on since the beginning of time. And I think this is going to be like the third matchup in the postseason between these two, which is pretty wild. The Packers rested their starters in Week 18 in preparation for this game. This will be the third matchup on the year between these two. It's going to be freaking awesome. They split the first two. What's going to happen in this one? And my parents were just in Chicago. My dad said the town is absolutely bear crazy right now. They've gone mad. So 2 games in the NFL on Saturday. On Sunday, how about a triple-header wild card style? 10 o'clock, CBS, Bills at the Jaguars. And right now, Buffalo favored by 1.5. The Bills have the best player on the planet in Josh Allen, but the Jaguars have the more complete football team. And the Bills' defense has been a complete disaster all year, especially against the run. At 1:30 on Fox, the 49ers ravaged by injury. Could have had the 1 seed, but lost to Seattle. They will travel now and play at the Eagles. 1:30 on Fox. Right now, Philadelphia favored by 4.5. And then the Sunday nighter, the Chargers. Go, Chargers, go. At the Patriots, the 2-7 matchup in the AFC. And right now, New England is favored by 3.5. And if that wasn't enough, we do have a Monday night football game. The Texans at the Steelers. Pittsburgh won their division, the AFC North, because they beat Baltimore on Sunday night and now are a 3.5-point dog at home against Houston, one of the hottest teams in football. And oh, by the way, in their last 24 games on Monday Night Football, these Steelers are 23-1 straight up. And I think the only loss came in the COVID year when there were no fans in the stands. That is a ridiculous number. That's who owns Monday Night Football is the Steelers. And Aaron Rodgers will get a chance to go up against that insane pass rush and defense that the Texans put out there on the field. So with all of that said, this is going to be a freaking awesome weekend of great sports, the ultimate football weekend. And thankfully, I get a chance a week to recover and mentally prepare for all of the stuff that will go in to try and watch the Broncos in the divisional round. 8 times in my life, the Broncos have been the number 1 seed. 6 times they have went on to the Super Bowl. The 2 times they did not, 96, a loss to Jacksonville, and 2012, a loss to Baltimore, which, by the way, were the 2 most disruptive losses as a Bronco fan in my entire life. If I had to pick the games right now, I'll take the Rams minus the 10 over the Panthers. I like the Packers to beat the Bears in Chicago. Love the Jaguars over the Bills. How Buffalo is favored in this game is beyond my understanding. My guess is the public will continue to pound that because Josh Allen's the only guy they know and trust. But Jacksonville has got the defensive ability to get stops. They're explosive on offense, and they have been dynamic over the last half of the season. And Buffalo, as much as I love Josh Allen, and he is a stud, they have been hit or miss this year, and their defense really is a mess. And the Jags have the personnel to get pressure on Josh Allen. So give me the Jags over the Bills. I like the Eagles over the 49ers just on the basis that the 49ers are shredded by injury. And the Eagles roster is one of the most talented. The only problem is their offense sucks. Quarterback and receiver don't like each other. They haven't been able to run the football, and yet they've got Saquon Barkley. It's really bizarre. I love the Chargers plus 3.5 at the Patriots. How would you like to be the Patriots? You win 13 games. You get the 2 seed. Your reward, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. And as an underdog, those 2 guys are psychotic. And Monday night, I love the Steelers. Love the Steelers at home. It's a Mike Tomlin special, and they own Monday night. All right, Alex Brinks coming up next. We will cover the college football playoff. We'll go really in-depth on Indiana and Oregon. We'll talk about a couple of the quarterbacks that have made moves in the transfer portal, and we'll get his take on each of the wildcard games in the NFL. Colin Amos, my good friend from Goldberg Jones, is going to join me at 4:20 to answer your questions. And we'll talk more NFL with Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA in Denver at 5:20. Michael Shacker is here. I am here. I appreciate your time. Happy New Year. Let's get this party started. All right, Rip City Drive. Oh, what a pleasure this is. I've been out for a couple of weeks, and now we get a chance to talk before one of the greatest football weekends in the history of the world. It's Alex Brink, former Coug with E4 Sports, who is back. And, Alex, we have so many great things to talk about. Let's go ahead and start with Oregon. I'm not surprised that they beat Texas Tech, but I was surprised that it was a defensive struggle, and they shut them out 23-zip. What were your takeaways coming out of the Orange Bowl?
Well, I got to start with this, Chad. I got to be really honest. I can't believe we're not starting with new Cougar football coach Kirby Moore up on the Palouse, but it's fine. We'll save it for another time. I know we'll talk about it.
No.
Oregon,
let me ask you a
Texas.
question. How did Kirby Moore not know what conference he's a part of, man? It's like whoever forgot to get that information to him, that's a fail.
Look, yeah, the kid grew up in the Mountain West. It is what it is, man. It was a slip of the tongue. He's off to a hot start. I am bullish Cougar football, excited for the new Pac-12. We'll leave that there because there's exciting things. Like you said, this weekend. Oregon and Texas Tech, man, honestly, you were texting me before the game, and I told you, I said, I think Oregon's going to beat them up. And part of that was with the Ducks all year, right, they've been kind of riding this line. At times they've had some injuries. They haven't always pieced it together, but you could see the talent and obviously the coaching top down from Dan Lanning. And I feel like, with two coordinators that are going to other places, but very specifically said, we're coaching our way all the way through this thing. We want to go win a title. It just feels like both the on-field and off-field pieces for Oregon are really coming together at the right time. And then on the Texas Tech side, right, they got the best D-line money can buy, but they don't have much else, and they didn't play a lot in the Big 12. Big 12's down this year. And I think that really showed up. I mean, that bifurcation, right, of kind of some of these top-level teams is really clear. And I'm not talking the group of five conversation that everybody tried to have after round one. Let's be real honest here. This is not about group of five versus P4. Texas Tech was not in the same ballpark as Oregon, and Alabama wasn't in the same ballpark as Indiana. That's fine. James Madison looked better than Texas Tech did, right?
Yeah, no question about it. I watched Tech throughout the year. I love their defense, but I saw them play multiple games, and I never really felt like they had a handle on the offense, and that proved to be an issue against the Ducks. And I guess what impressed me about Oregon, and they've done this throughout the year, is the way that their line of scrimmage play on both sides, because they went heavy in the portal, but they've been pretty dominant at the line of scrimmage, and I think the coaches have done a good job of coaching them up throughout the course of the year, just like we saw last year. And as you know, with any of the teams remaining, you've got to be able to compete at the line of scrimmage, and the Ducks have been able to do that. I feel like physically they match up better than we've ever seen a Duck team at this point in the season before. That's how I see it.
I think that's true, and I think, but one call out I would say is that yes, they were heavy in the portal in the lines, but two of the most impactful players on the D line are homegrown kids.
That's right.
For as far as recruiting, right, with Tatum Tuioti and Mateo Uiagalelei. So I think Dan Lanning does it right. He can recruit at a high level, and he can add pieces as needed in the portal, right? That's kind of the best version of this current era, I think, for people. When people live in the portal and they don't develop talent from day one, you end up with holes at certain spots. That's kind of what happened to Texas Tech, right, with Baron Morton at quarterback. I mean, he's an okay player, but he wasn't developed well enough in that program along the way. They probably needed a portal quarterback. They just couldn't afford him because they spent it all on defense, But again, I think that's the balance Oregon has. They do a nice job of developing players on their roster, going out and getting other ones, and then to your point, gelling them together.
Yeah, the only issue I had with the game is it's not just Dan Lanning, but I've seen so many coaches, their decisions when it comes to fourth downs and when to go for it, when they don't go for it. It's like, what's wrong with taking points in a defensive struggle, for crying out loud? They should have been up 15-0 at halftime, and it was 6-zip. I'm like, you guys are killing me.
My favorite part about that is they'll all tell you that it's somehow tied to analytics. And then when you go back, you're like, wait a minute, you're making a different decision in the same situation.
Exactly.
In a different game. In this, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. No, I agree. I think in the end, and Dan Lane's done it forever, so you can't hold it against him. It's a little bit like Mike Leach. He's going to shoot from the hip on fourth down, and if it works, he looks like a genius. If it doesn't, it could bite him. And honestly, in that Tech game early on, that was the difference, right? It's a 6-point game at half, and you're thinking man, this could be a real problem until that Uiagalelei strip sack really broke the game open.
All right. They're going to take on Indiana. I watched the Rose Bowl. You and I have been impressed with Indiana all year, especially with Coach Signetti. They physically dominated Bama and kicked their ass. And so I'm just What was your takeaway from that game? I thought the quarterback play was great. I thought they ran the ball well, but defensively they got after Bama. That was an impressive win.
Yeah, I was more impressed with the Indiana defense than anything. My concern going into that game was that, Alabama with kind of the offensive coaching and some of the offensive firepower they've showcased, although they haven't run the football great all year. I thought maybe Ty Simpson and those receivers could get something going under Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator. It just showed Indiana's discipline, and their skill and athleticism. But in the end, Indiana defensively, they're not portal superstars. They're not, guys that got paid a ton of money. There's a lot of guys in there that, played a lot of football, worked to get to this point, and just play really consistent and really clean on defense. And that's that's obviously a problem for offenses.
Do you think the Ducks have an advantage having played Indiana and lost as they get ready for this rematch?
Very much so. I think it's really hard to beat a team twice in the same year. If you were to ask me today, like feet to the fire, like I think Oregon wins this football game, even with how good Indiana looks, just because it's so difficult to go back to back on a good team, right, in the same season.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what's weird about this game too? How often does Oregon line up against an opponent where you look across on the other sideline where the other team may have the better coach and the better quarterback? That's not too often.
No, it's rare. But look, Dan Lanning like I do. I mean, he really accepts that challenge. And after what happened last year, right, against Ohio State, I think Dan Lanning's got a huge chip on his shoulder to prove that he can coach and win in the big game in the most important stage, right? And same with Dante Moore, right? I mean, like if you think about it from Dante Moore's standpoint, he's a few years behind Fernando Mendoza when it comes to development. But, Dante Moore believes he's the best quarterback in the country, right? And he's facing the Heisman Trophy winner. He wants to show that he is that guy. So, again, a lot of motivation from the Oregon side, I think playing an underdog role, which they rarely are.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So right now, you would pick Oregon.
I would.
Okay.
I would.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. I think Oregon matches up really well, and I'm just anxious to see how they adjust based off of the first meeting at Autzen when Indiana, I think, really showed what they were made of. Now, with these two quarterbacks, well, just talk about them. They could be the top two picks taken in the upcoming NFL draft if they both go, Dante Moore and then obviously Mendoza. What are your thoughts on these guys and how they might translate to the NFL?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Fernando Mendoza obviously has shown, his abilities throughout the year. One thing that he doesn't get enough credit for is his athleticism, right? He can move really well. He's not a statue back there, even though he's a big guy. I think that goes a little bit overlooked at times. I think we've seen, you and I have talked about this before with the Bo Nixes of the world, the Jaden Daniels of the world, guys that play a long time in college have a lot of success in this day and age in the NFL, right? They've seen a lot of ball. They're mature. They understand it. And I see that from Mendoza. Plus, he's got the best arm in the country, like bar none, hands down. So, there's that. Dante Moore, look, you're not going to find a cooler kid under pressure than Dante Moore, And, I think probably the only downside for Dante, and this is why the conversations around whether he leaves or not are happening, is physically he's got a little development to go, right? He's only about 200 pounds. He's younger, on the younger side of it, right? Only just one full year starting. I think he would really benefit from another year in college. That being said, if he gets to the right spot in the NFL and they allow him the chance to develop, he'll be fantastic. But there is kind of that maturity, the physical maturity difference between him and Mendoza.
All right, we're talking with Alex Brink. Now on the other side, first off, the Miami Hurricanes. They surprised everyone. They got the win down at Texas A&M. And then they showed up against Ohio State and physically kicked the crap out of them, which was amazing. Look, Miami's been the same team from day one up until now when they beat Notre Dame. Like, their play at the line of scrimmage has been very impressive. They run the ball between the tackles. They're physical. And I thought defensively, they just took it to Ohio State. What are your thoughts on what Miami has been able to do, surprising many by getting to the semifinals?
Well, yeah, and on top of that, if the quarterback doesn't lose in football games, turning the ball over, right? They're a really dangerous team. Which a lot of credit to Carson Beck for playing really well so far in the playoff. But maybe not asked to do as much, like you said, because they run the football well. But I mean, this is what Mario Cristobal envisioned when he took the Miami job. Getting a chance to win in the kind of third conference, so to speak, with the ACC, get yourself into the playoff with a physical football team. and make some noise. And, it's playing out just like he thought, right? And I think defensively has probably been the spot that, I've been really impressed. I thought at times they had some holes this year. And it seems like that unit's really playing well, playing together at the right time.
You know what I need in my life? I need you on the sideline for Cougar games, just like Michael Irvin. You have the big belt
Sure.
whipping a Huskies jersey, man. I need that. I need to see that.
Yeah. Happy to do it. I would, I think nothing would make me happier than doing that.
Well, on the other side, Ole Miss, and you and I have been talking about Ole Miss all year. I was impressed early in the season when they beat LSU, and that's when I started watching them and realizing that, man, this team's physical. They've been good defensively. We love their running back, DeJuan Lacey, and, of course, Trinidad Chambliss has been terrific, and he was electric in that Sugar Bowl. They're not a traditional power, so they're not getting the attention they probably deserve, but they're a darn good football team. How do you think they match up with the Canes?
Yeah, they're a really good football team. I think, you're not going to find another team in the playoff with as much offensive firepower as Ole Miss. And a lot of that has to do with the trigger man, Trinidad Chambliss, because, he is the one kind of true dual threat quarterback in the playoff West.
Yes.
And he can break you down in so many different ways. Plus, he's a good passer, right? And then they have weapons. They figured out offensively that, they have, in my opinion, what looks like a first-round pick at tight end. Didn't use him very well to start the year. Have figured that out. Charlie Weiss Jr. has added that in the mix where you're seeing the tight end really involved. They got big outside receivers and quick slot guys. They're a really hard cover, right? And then Kewan Lacey, like you mentioned, really, one of the top 3 running backs probably in the country. So that unit is fantastic. Where they've gotten better this year is on defense. Defensively, in the early part of the year, they didn't play cohesive, right? They didn't play together. They had a lot of transfers, and you've seen them really come together. They have some elite players on the defensive line, led by Centeri Perkins, and a couple other big guys that just at times they didn't show up, and all of a sudden you're seeing down the stretch here, they're playing hard, they're playing with purpose. And I wonder, in all honesty, if that has to do with Lane Kiffin leaving and their D coordinator taking over as the head man and that identity kind of permeating right throughout that team.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, before we talk NFL, 2 quarterbacks I wanted to ask you about. Well, actually 3 quarterbacks in the portal. First off, Tech went out and got the top quarterback in the portal, according to most, in Brendan Sorsby. What do you think about that match?
Again, I think that was a very clear need for Texas Tech, right? Yeah. They had to find an elite player. Sorsby's shown that he can do it, for a long time. He's really productive, a good athlete. I think it's a fit. I think the question for obviously Texas Tech is kind of how you rebuild this whole thing. You got all the money in the world to do it. These quarterbacks, as they leave situations they're comfortable with where they had success, to take a lot of money and go to a new place with expectation, it adds a dynamic that I don't think anybody's really wrapped their head around, right? If you think about, say, Carson Beck, he kind of weathered the storm last year and then has figured it out now. But, I think some of these guys, it's a real shock to the system, right? When you're getting paid through $3, $4, $5 million bucks and you throw a few interceptions and nobody wants you on the field anymore.
Isn't that the truth? All right. It looks like Sam Levitt is probably headed to LSU to work with Lane Kiffin. What do you think about that potential match between Kiffin and Levitt?
Well, with LSU in general, right? The reason Lane Kiffin took that job is because you can recruit some of the best athletes in the country out of that footprint on top of what Lane Kiffin does offensively. Sam's going to love playing in that offense, be able to play fast, use his athleticism. He is Trinidad Chambliss with a little bit more physical gifts, right, as far as size and arm talent and things like that. But it's a similar type of match, a similar type of fit. So assuming that Lane Kiffin can put the roster around him, which is the reason he took that job, so you think he will, I think it's a really good fit.
All right. My guy, Kenny Dillingham, went out and grabbed a quarterback out of Kentucky, Cutter Boley. Have you had a chance to work with him at all?
I've not, honestly. Watched a little tape. I think, again, this is more of my feelings about Kenny Dillingham and Marcus Arroyo. I think they can make just about any quarterback, look good and play well for them just because of their system and their ability to coach them up. So I think it's a good fit, mostly because I know the coaches can make it right.
All right, that's perfect. All right, Wild Card Weekend is going to be awesome in the NFL. I can't wait. I just want to get your quick take on the matchups. Let's start with this one on Sunday morning. Buffalo at Jacksonville, and the Jaguars, one of the hottest teams in football, getting 1.5 at home. going up against a defense which has struggled throughout the course of the year. What do you think about this game?
Boy, I mean, it's kind of one of those games where 3 years ago you would have never thought we'd be talking about it as such a high-powered matchup, right? But I love how the Jaguars are playing right now. I think the Bills are playing well too. What interests me in this day or this season of the NFL is some of these teams that we never thought of as really being contenders, stepping up and playing really well. And I think it's really refreshing to see. I like the Jaguars in this one. Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, like that offense can really move it. I think the Bills have some holes on defense, and I kind of like the Jaguars here.
I'm with you on that one. I like the Jags. I just think the Bills' defensive issues are going to cost them against a team that is on fire right now, and the Jags' defense playing better. They can get some stops. The Rams are going to go back to Carolina. They went there a couple of weeks ago as a 10-point favorite and lost. Now they get a chance to rematch at Carolina in the playoffs. They're also a 10-point favorite in this one. What do you think happens?
Yeah, I don't think Sean McVay loses this game twice, right? Like,
yeah.
I think the Rams were really hot in the early mid part of the season. For whatever reason, fell off a little bit. I don't envision Stafford with his his acumen, McVay, their ability to scheme it up and coach. I don't think they lose this one twice. Plus, right, you look at that division with Carolina and Tampa, and New Orleans, Atlanta, like. It's hard to believe, that the winner of that group ends up making noise in the playoffs.
No doubt. Now, Monday Night Football, we're going to get the Steelers coming off that miraculous win over the Ravens, where Aaron Rodgers was awesome in the fourth quarter. They're going to take on one of the hottest teams in football, and the Texans, who are great defensively. Pittsburgh's a 3.5-point underdog at home. What do you think about this one here?
The times that you've seen Rodgers struggle this season, right, is when he plays good defenses with a great pass rush. And that's what Houston has and can do is get him off his spot. You just saw with the Ravens, they couldn't get home. And when Aaron's back there is picking you apart, he can really, like you said, he's fantastic. But I think the Texans defense is too good. They've done it all year. The offense kind of figured it out a little bit. CJ Stroud started playing better. So I like the Texans in this.
All right, the 49ers, I feel bad for them because they're so ravaged by injuries. It's a miracle they're where they're at based on the work that Kyle Shanahan has done. They're playing at Philadelphia. They're a 4.5-point dog. They just lost another player, their safety Bethune, who's going to be out with a torn groin. This could just be a matter of attrition. It's not like the Eagles have been setting the world on fire with their offense, but they're strong at the line of scrimmage and they got a talented roster. Do you think the 49ers have a chance in this one?
I do, and I agree that they're banged up by injuries, but they have some key pieces, obviously, particularly offensively. I think last week really took, it was a little shot to the gut, so to speak, right, for the Niners. And I think they thought they would go out and win that game even with all the injuries. And I can just see a good week of preparation, getting those backups ready to go. Philly has been just kind of an enigma all year, and I have a hard time feeling like they're just going to figure it out. And although the Niners got to find some magic, I think this is the type of game that Kyle Shanahan figures out a way to win.
All right, that's perfect. Bears and Packers. It's amazing. This is only the third time in their history where they're going to match up in the postseason. They've played twice already this year. The Packers may have a slight edge from the standpoint they rested their starters to get ready for the playoff game. Who do you like in the Bears-Packers game?
I mean, is this the one that I can just say, I don't know, I just want to watch it, right? Like, there's so many layers to it. Like, there's so many layers to it with, the history of the rivalry, right? And not really happening in the playoffs. The Bears turnaround under Ben Johnson, wanting to see the Packers kind of keep improving and my personal connection with Matt LaFleur. Like, I mean, there's just so much to it. I think that Ben Johnson has something special in Chicago, and I think they find a way to win this game. But it would not surprise me in any capacity if the Packers pull it off. I think it's going to be the best game of the weekend.
Gosh, I can't wait. Now, the other game, this one here is pretty wild. The Patriots win 13 games. They get the 2 seed, and their reward is Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. The Chargers are getting 3.5. I kind of like L.A. in this one here, but that is a tough matchup to draw a 7 seed when you get Harbaugh and Herbert. That's unreal.
Yeah, very much so. And you know what you're going to get, right? You're going to get your strong running attack, and then you're going to get, Justin on play action pass and their ability to make things happen. I mean, obviously Drake May's played great. I just love what Mike Vrabel's doing, right?
Yeah,
and like the
awesome
storyline there from Tennessee to the Patriots and turning it around. And That's the one thing with the Chargers. We haven't seen as good as Harbaugh's been, and obviously Herbert's elite. They've had a hard time in general getting over the hump in Herbert's tenure,
Yeah.
and it feels like if this game's tight in the middle of it, that some of that starts to creep into the psyche, right? And with the Patriots, it's all good. Like life is good at 13 wins
Yeah.
and under Mike Vrabel, and I feel like that goes a long way in a game like this.
All right, Alex Brink with E4 Sports. Talk to me about the golf farm, which is obviously close to my heart. You guys have some good things going on.
Yeah, the golf farm is a really fun venture we're working on with Brian Henninger and Amy Simonton over the golf farm. For those that don't know, Brian, 25 years on the PGA Tour, 54-hole leader at the Masters in '95 to Crenshaw from the state of Oregon. They created an awesome business down in Tualatin where they train golfers on everything, swing, fitness. They got 3 TrackMan bays, putting studio, in-house physical therapy, and TPI screening. So if you're a golfer and you want to get better of any age, junior golfers, like us, Chad, weekend warriors, I mean, that's the place to go. What's really fun is we helped open a second location out in Bend. So Golf Farm Bend, for those that have friends out there or are listening, we have a really cool event coming up on Saturday. We're actually having David McClay Kidd, the designer of Bandon Dunes, the whole Bandon property, the designer of Tethrow out there in Bend, the designer of Gamble Sands, and many more. He's coming in 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. to do a Q&A, ask questions, talk about his experiences. He actually lives in Bend, which is really cool. So you can find out more if you go to the Golf Farm website or social medias. If you're out in Bend or you got somebody out in Bend, have them come out. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be out there. If you're a golf nerd, this is the place to be with Brian Henninger and David McClay Kidd.
And if you have any questions for Alex and his team, you can always email them, team@e4sports.com. Alex, you're a stud, man. We had so many things to talk about. I'm so geeked for this weekend, man. Enjoy the ball.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care.
Well, I'm pumped now. I can't wait for this weekend. Can't wait for Thursday. Can't wait for Friday. And looking forward to Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. We'll keep things rolling. I've got Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Your chance to see the Rockets at Moda Center coming up at 5. Colin Amos is going to join us at 4:20 to answer your questions. And then we'll talk more football with Ryan Edwards from 850 KOA in Denver coming up at 5:20. Appreciate your time. We got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Come on, crank it up, Shacker. Let's listen to Phil Collins for a moment. 1991. I was 16 when this song came out. That makes me feel old. All right, I'm done talking. We do not disrespect Phil Collins on this show. And technically, this is Genesis, not Phil Collins. And the live performance on the American Music Awards back in 91 with this song was sensational. And it's sad. All right, Rip City Drive. Big thanks to Alex Brink. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up at 5. Michael Shacker has informed me that we have not one but two pairs of tickets. The Houston Rockets with Kevin Durant are going to be in town for back-to-back games on Wednesday and Friday. Unfortunately, the Duck game is going to be played on Friday as well. They got to figure this stuff out, man. Why should we have to work when there's important football games being played? I would like to protest, but it's going to be great because the Blazers will be tested. The Rockets, one of the better teams in the NBA, and they get a chance to take on the Rockets. And hopefully Kevin Durant won't get upset or butthurt at one of the fans near the court and ask him to be escorted out. It's driving me crazy. NBA players are so soft and pathetic now that if you call like Russell Westbrook, he'll ask for that fan to be escorted out. The only time a fan should be asked to leave the event is if they're drunk out of their minds or if they're yelling obscenities or, something of a racial nature. That's unacceptable. You should be booted from the crib in those circumstances. But just because you call someone Westbrook, you're going to ask to have him leave. Why not go out there and just ball out and shut the fan up the old-fashioned way by playing good basketball? No, because they're too soft. That stuff drives me crazy. Wait a second. I'm a fan of the Blazers, and I'm heckling someone on the other team, and you're going to have me leave the game? You freaking kidding me? What's next? We're going to ask fans to leave when they boo? I don't know, man. There's something weird about the world nowadays. Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt me. Remember when that used to be a thing? That's long gone now. If players don't like you booing, they'll ask for you to be ejected from the crib, even if they're not playing a home game. That is mind-boggling. Nothing says we hate our fans like having them leave because they heckle someone. Oh, don't call me Westbrook. Well, dude, you shot 5 for 30 in the game. You were bricking shots. Anywho, that's just, I know I'm getting older because there's things now that bother me that didn't used to bother me. I was thinking about this the other day. Well, even last night at the Blazer game, why do NBA arenas play like a house mix in the middle of play? Do we really need that? If you want to play music during the commercial breaks or during a timeout, fine. But why are you running the house mix during the game? Are you kidding me? And then the other thing that bothers me is why is it when I'm watching an NFL game now, pro players making routine plays celebrate after every single play? A guy picks up a first down. He gets like 11 yards on 3rd down and 10, and he's like celebrating and giving the first down sign. Dude, that was routine. You made a catch and picked up a first down. You did your job. Why are you celebrating like that?
Celebration when you're the team losing.
Yeah. You're down by 20. You pick up a first down and you give the first down sign. Dude, you're getting your ass kicked right now. Settle down. That stuff drives you crazy. But then again, I'm just getting older and I know what's happening. But the music during NBA games kills me. It's like, what are you guys doing? Why is there a house mix? Am I supposed to get up and start dancing right now? But the players, I love pro players, like tackling somebody, doing their job, and then celebrating after every play. What are we doing now? But again, that's just me getting older and becoming more bitter at all the little things that never used to bother me. And I just think it's funny how you always tell yourself, like, I'm not going to be like my parents, man. When I get older, I'm going to be cool and I'm going to be the cool parent. And then you get older and you're just like your parents. Loud noises annoy me now. Teenage girls talking nonstop for like an hour straight in the car drive me bonkers. Raise your hand if you can relate to anything I'm saying, or am I just completely off my rocker now? And the other thing that bothers me? The analytic world and how it's taken over the world of sports. Like, for instance, Denver Bronco fans are annoying me right now, and I'm one of them. And it's because a team wins 14 games for the second time in their franchise's history. They get the number one seed, and yet everyone's freaking out because our offense isn't good enough. We're going to lose our first playoff game. Can we at least wait until we know what the matchup is before you start gripping? And why can't you take a moment to celebrate the fact the team won 11 straight? They got to 14 wins for the second time in franchise history, and they avoided a round of Russian roulette in the playoffs and get to play all of their playoff games at home. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Analytics, I have no problem with analytics, but it clouds people's vision, I think, to a degree. All right, we'll keep things rolling. You can reach out to me, 503-248-0620. Colin Amos at 420. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday at 5. And then we'll talk more football with Ryan Edwards at 520. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, what's going on? It's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday afternoon. We got some breaking news. John Harbaugh is out as Ravens coach after missing the playoffs with that loss on Sunday night to the Steelers. Unbelievable. All right, the Trailblazers got a win last night. They're on fire. They're 5-1 in their last 6. They've improved to 17-20. They're back at it tomorrow. The Rockets will be in town for the first of 2. Tip-off at 7. And we'll have Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt live from Moda at 5. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, today at 5. All you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win and see the Rockets in person. College football playoff launches on Thursday with the semifinals. Ole Miss and Miami. Canes favored by 3. 4:30 kick on ESPN. Friday, join me at Spirit Mountain Casino for the Ducks and Hoosiers at 4:30 on ESPN. Indiana favored by 4. I'll be there from 2 to 5 at your place to bet on college sports. All right, this might be the coolest thing I've ever received in my life, but I think somebody, a listener, made me a specialized yacht rock song for the Rip City Drive. And I have not listened to it yet except for a small sample. So we're going to take a listen to it right now, and then I'm going to go and talk to Knox, who called in, a big Bronco fan, and we could celebrate the number 1 seed together. But Jason Yates, big listener of the program, a great guy, he sent me a link. He goes, hey, this is the yacht rock song I made for you. And I was like,
assume no cuss words because I don't think there's any cuss words in any yacht rock music.
No, it's just usually songs about boats, being on the water, or relationships that have gone wrong. That's usually what yacht rock encompasses, typically. But let's take a listen to Jason Yates' Rip City Drive yacht rock song. Let's take a listen. Well, I like the start, very smooth. You know your life is good when people are making yacht rock songs for you.
There's a breeze rolling in from the Willamette tide. All of the Rose City
Sounds a bit
on a
country.
mellow
There's
ride.
a yacht country station.
When the clock hits 3, you know where to be. Chad Doing's on the air, setting Portland free. From the motor center glow to the downtown lights, he's the voice that carries you up through dinner time. Tune into Rip City Drive, 3 to 6, where PDX comes alive. On 6:20 a.m., let the good vibes play. Chad Smooth Talk will sail your stress away. Rip City Drive, your afternoon escape. Lock it in with Chad. He's the king of the airwaves. Talking Blazers hoops, every dunk, every win. Seahawks flying high, Hillsboro Hops playing again. From Oklahoma roots to the Oregon shore, Chad's got stories that keep you begging for more. Monday through Friday, he's your daily guide. Gift a gab on the mic, taking you for a ride. Tune in to Rip City Drive, 3 to 6, where PDX
This is damn good.
on 6:20 a.m. Let the good vibes play. Chat Smooth Talk will sail your stress away. Rip City Drive, your afternoon escape. Lock it in with Chad. He's the king of the airwaves. No storms on the dial, just that easy flow. Chad Doing at the helm, running this show. From the Rose City walks out to Mount Hood to Sports Talk Paradise. Just me, you, and him. Let the radio waves carry every play he calls. Like a yacht rock sunset as the evening falls. Oh, Rip City Drive.
All right, Shacker, what do you think, man? That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
I want to hear it every show.
All right. I think we can make that work, right? Where you can. This is instantly your show open right here.
Yeah. Thank you for the production. And I love his voice.
Now, Jason, you got to text me. Is that you? Is that your vocals there, my friend? Dang. This is freaking awesome.
We get him to perform it at Moda Center. Maybe when the weather gets good outside the arena before a game.
I don't even know what to say. I'm blown away. Jason Yates sending me a message saying, hey, I created a yacht rock song for you. I didn't know it was going to be that good. That is instantly my favorite song of all time. Now, if you're going to make a yacht rock song for me and make it about the Rip City Drive, that is instantly going to become the show open.
Now, will it be a full band or just one person with a music track singing?
That's a good point. All right, nice work. Awesome, man. Nice work, Jason. Thank you. Seriously. That wasn't cheesy. That was just legit good. Oh, wow. Well, Happy New Year, Chad. You just got your own personalized yacht rock song for the Rip City Drive. 503-248-0620. Hey, Shacker, will you bring Knox up for me, fellow Bronco fan? Hey, Knox, my friend. I can't believe the Bronco fans that are freaking out after a 14-win season, man. I'm pumped. I'm so happy that they're where they're at. It's awesome.
Bonito, Cooper, Ufunga, Sertan, Miles.
Yeah.
Give me a better defense than that right now, man. And if I had the opportunity to be on a yacht, I think I'd be happy just to listen to the water. But that song was pretty cool for you, man. I appreciate that for you.
Yeah, thank you. You know what's pumped? You're right about the defense, and that's my reason for optimism. Like, I know that the offense needs to be better, especially in the red zone, but you've seen enough playoff games like I have. When you have a great defense and you can get stops, you're going to be in a position to win games, and that's why I've got hope that the Broncos playing at home at altitude with that crowd noise is going to be in a good position to go back to the Super Bowl.
Here's the stat for the season: 11-2 in one possession games. Okay, if it comes down to it, our defense holds them. We started offense take off. We've seen them score 35, 40 points, but I'm tired of this dink and doink to our running backs rather than throwing it downfield. This last game had one pass over 15 yards, and that was to Ingram, the tight end. Sutton got one pass the whole game. I think he got 2 attempts. And I think we need to play our wide receivers more. But you know how Peyton is. He likes to play that stuff a little close to the vest and have everybody run.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I think, Knox, and I appreciate the phone call. What I personally believe took place this past weekend, the Broncos won the game 19-3, and they kicked 4 field goals. So they kicked their way to the number 1 seed. What I think happened there is that Sean Payton's not a dum-dum. He knows there's a very good chance that they're going to play the Chargers again in 2 weeks. And if the L.A. Chargers beat New England this weekend, they're going right back to Denver. Denver will play the Chargers if they beat New England this weekend. So, and there's a guy, Tim Jenkins, who is a quarterback coach. He lives in Denver, and he's got a YouTube channel. He does a great job of breaking down offenses and quarterback play. I watched his breakdown of the game this weekend against the Chargers. And he really thinks, based on the plays that were called, that Sean Payton was running a vanilla offense out there, not wanting to show anything, much like the Chargers rolling out their backups, not wanting to show anything to the Patriots. So I think the Broncos were limited on offense and very conservative because they're trying to hide what's under their hat, because they know very well they could be playing the Chargers. And quite frankly, I think they're going to beat the Patriots this weekend. I like the Chargers in that game. And we've seen it over the course of time. Young quarterbacks making their first playoff start don't typically do particularly well because it's a different speed, it's a different game, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a learning curve that's involved. But I'll tell you one thing. If you're the 2 seed, you win 14 games, and your reward is the L.A. Chargers with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert, that's tough. Now, the Chargers have got issues. They've got injuries. They're completely beat up along the offensive line. Justin Herbert's been beat up throughout the course of the year because teams have been teeing off on him. But that defense with Coach Minter is awesome. Secondary is amazing. Their pass defense is terrific. And then get pressure on the quarterback. So that'd be an impressive feat for Drake May if he's able to lead his team past the Chargers. But that's what I think happened. I think Sean Payton was like, you know what? We're not going to show Jack squat. We're going to be conservative. We don't need to show everything to beat the scrub Chargers. They got the win. They get the bye. And now they can get ready for that first playoff game. But one thing for certain, they've got to be better on offense to get to the Super Bowl. But the advantage is they're playing at home. With that noise, at altitude, with that pass rush. Which, by the way, in case you're wondering how good the Broncos' pass rush is, they had 68 sacks this year. Not far off from the record set by the 84 Bears. By far the most in franchise history. 68 sacks. That is awesome. Vance Joseph has done such a heck of a job with that defense that he's going to get himself interviews this cycle for head coaching jobs. So I'm excited. I'm pumped, but I'm gripping too. Big time grip job, because now it matters. When you get the number one seed, there's only one acceptable result. That's getting to the Super Bowl. So anything less than that's going to be a major disappointment now. I think the Broncos are ahead of schedule. I knew they would be good this year. I did not project 14 wins, and I did not see them getting the one seed. And the great part about the AFC right now, this is all about the new blood. Denver, Houston with their defense. Jacksonville's on fire. The Chargers. And Buffalo, who has the best player in Josh Allen, they've got major holes. Every team in the playoffs in both the AFC and NFC has got a fatal flaw. They all do. They've all got fatal flaws. The question is, can you minimize your weaknesses and put yourself in a position to lean on your strengths and get wins? And, of course, the big number to always worry about in these playoff games is turnovers. If you turn it over, you're screwed. If you lose the turnover battle, you're screwed, period. So I'll be watching that this weekend with the games, but love it. I'm totally pumped. Love the games. And I think the Ducks have a great chance to beat Indiana. 503-248-0620. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up at 5 o'clock. I've got not one but two pairs. We've got a pair for the game tomorrow against the Rockets. Got a pair for the game Friday against the Rockets. Rockets are playing back-to-back games at Moda. And the Blazers playing good basketball right now. Denny Avdia is an all-star. Denny Avdia is a star player in this league. And once again, he was balling out of his mind last night. He had 33 points through three quarters. He could have easily gone for 40-plus, but they didn't need him to because they were killing the Jazz. And that team sucks, by the way. Utah sucks at basketball this year. But, man, props to Portland. It's my good friend from Goldberg Jones. We'll check. I've got the slip right here. It's my good friend from Goldberg Jones. We'll check. I've got the slip right here on our over-under projections for the season. We'll dig into that next. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. From 1-800-DIVORCE, Goldberg Jones in the studios. We kick off a new year. Happy New Year. Colin Amos from 1-800-DIVORCE, Goldberg Jones in the studios. We kick off a new year. Happy New Year, my friend.
Yeah, thanks. Happy New Year to you.
It's good to see you. And it was great to see you at the Blazer game the other night. I was able to sneak up into the suite to hang out with you and Rick for a bit.
I know. Those are so much fun to go to. And, the iHeart suite is awesome. But you get distracted. You start talking, and all of a sudden, look, that was a great game all the way down the end. And I have to say, during that game, I had to sneak a bet on who are they playing? I can't even remember who they were playing.
Was it Dallas they were playing?
Yeah. And so they were way ahead in the first quarter. I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw in a plus 8.5 and whammo. They came back, made it a good game. Blazers win. I win my bet. It's just the way betting should be.
Smiles
right?
all the way around.
Smiles all the way around.
Boy, I'm looking at some of these spreads right now.
Oh, yeah.
In the wild card. Rams laying 10 on the road at Carolina. And the Rams just went there 2 weeks ago as a 10-point favorite and lost outright.
Yep.
And now they're back. That's very interesting.
And it's now gone to 10.5. It's now clicked up. If you look at the updated lines, I just looked again. Now it's 10.5. It depends on the book.
I'm looking at the ALNA book right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is local. It's at 10, but it's -10, -115. So they're getting close to bumping it up to 10.5.
You're right in there. Yep.
Packers and Bears at ALNA right now. Pick them.
Yeah.
Third
That's
time
crazy.
they've met. They split the first two games. Packers rested their starters in Week 18.
And Bears had a knockdown drag out with the Lions.
Incredible.
And still lost, but yeah.
Bills and Jaguars. Right now at ALNA, it's a pick 'em, and the Bills were a 1.5-point favorite. So I'm seeing a pick 'em right now.
Yep. And that's fluctuated, and mine has it like 1.5 to the Bills, which hard not to take the Jags. It's at Jaguars, too. It's not at Bills. If it was at Buffalo, I'd have to say it, but man.
Yeah, and the Jags are on fire, and the Bills, look, I love Josh Allen. My thought going in is that the public would pound Buffalo because they trust Josh Allen, right? But their run defense has been awful all year.
No, it's not good.
Yeah, so.
And the Jaguars are a complete team. They start off tough, and it's hard to trust Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs.
But he's put together enough weeks now, 5 or 6 weeks in a row, where he's playing really good football.
If he just doesn't try to do too much.
Jacoby Myers was good too.
It's kind of like him and Bo Nix. Just don't try. Just let the team take care of this.
You got plenty of good players around you.
Stand back.
My dad was saying that over and over this past weekend against the Chargers. Like, come on, Bo. What are we doing?
Settle down. Let the team take care of it.
49ers, who are ravaged by injury, getting 4.5 at Philly.
Yeah. 4.5 is a lot. And if Trent Williams comes back, it's hard not to take that 4.5. But, yeah.
Oh, Trent Williams, they need him badly.
They need him.
Chargers, I love the Chargers getting 3.5 on the road against New England. It's amazing that you can win 14 games, be the 2 seed, and your reward is Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. That's tough.
I know. And they rested. And there's not much defense there, and they've played the easiest schedule. The Pats have played the easiest schedule of the NFL history, I believe, not just this year. So that's going to be a really interesting game to see what these teams are really about.
And for the Monday night game, in their last 24 games on Monday night, the Steelers are 23-1 straight up, and you got Mike Tomlin getting points. It's like, how do you not play the Steelers in that game?
Yeah, because last week, that was the trend, right? You always bet Tomlin as a dog.
But the public was pounding Baltimore.
I know. And so because I had to follow the trends, I had it on the Steelers, but I was like,
I just don't think people trust Pittsburgh because their offense has been hideous for most of the year.
Yeah.
Rodgers is older, but they've been playing better defense over the last few weeks. That should be a very interesting game.
Which is the problem with the Steelers, right? Every year, you got a great coach, but he plays too well to get any draft picks. They don't have any draft capital.
But they don't go anywhere in the postseason.
And they get just above 500. They go to the postseason. They hit the first playoff game. They lose, or they don't make it far, and then they're back to it. And should you fire him? Should you do the John Harbaugh thing and just let it go and restart? Because he's too good. I mean, Tomlin is one of the best coaches.
That's big news today. Harbaugh has been let go by the Ravens after a long and successful
16
run.
seasons, I think. That's crazy.
What a heck of a coach he is. He'll be right at the top of everyone's list.
Do you think he's going to take a year off and just take a break and then come back and take the best job, or is he going to?
Probably, but we'll see what offers are thrown at him.
There's Stefanski is gone now.
Yeah, and he's a great coach.
Yeah.
But if you're the Raiders, like any of these teams, like how can you not make an instant call to Harbaugh just to gauge his interest?
That's right. Even if you have a coach they haven't fired yet, you
should
check
call
on.
because
Hey,
he's one of the best coaches in the NFL without a job.
absolutely.
But maybe he'll take his brother's route, take a year off, make a few million doing broadcasting, and then, see what jobs open up.
Agreed.
And if you're Harbaugh, Jim was smart. He waited until Justin Herbert? Yeah, I'll take that job.
Exactly.
Find the perfect spot.
And what's going to happen with Lamar now with the Ravens? Are they going to reset? Are they going to try to keep him? Or
It would
is
seem
he going to
insane
stay?
to let him go. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what he'll do. But letting a player, I think if you let Lamar, if you want to part ways with Lamar, you got brain damage. He's too good.
Agreed. With all look at this year in backup quarterbacks and how bad starting quarterbacks work.
Yeah.
And then you go to the backups.
The other thing, too, to keep in mind there is that he is, Lamar, in the Baltimore area, he's like an icon, right?
Yeah.
Like if you let him go, fans would go,
Yeah.
they'd go insane.
Yeah.
Now I handed you the slip. Why don't you go over? How
All
did
right.
you and I do on our over-under projections for the year?
All right. Let's go through it quick. Steelers over 8.5. Win. You had an over. Hawks over 8.5. Easy. Win. That was plus money, too. Carolina Panthers.
The Hawks were plus money?
Yeah, plus 115.
Easy money.
Easy money. Carolina Panthers over 6.5. Easy. You had under. I won that one.
Oh.
49ers over 10.5. You had under. I had a win. I had over.
Gosh.
Then
What
we
a
got
job Kyle Shanahan did with the injuries.
Oh, and Saleh.
Yeah, Saleh was
Defense,
great.
the defense, because he got decimated right away, and then Saleh just kept every game. Their defense
Amazing.
shows up.
Great coaching job.
Yeah, he should be back in the mix for head coaching job.
I agree.
Ohio State and Oregon, you had over. I lost both of those. 10.5. They just had,
Yeah.
Utah, I had over. You had over 7.5. Then we get back in Dallas Cowboys. You had under 7.5. You won. I hedged it out. I lost that, but I hedged it on Giants this last week just so I didn't lose too much. Washington Commanders under 9.5. You had over. I had under.
That was a surprise. They really came back.
Yeah,
Injuries,
all
and they
the
didn't play that
injuries.
well, yeah.
And they played, but they with all the decimation, they still played great.
Yeah,
they're competitive to the very end. They won the last game, right? Bengals under 9.5. I had under. You had under. And the Browns over 5.5. You had under. Nice call. Even with the last game.
They suck.
Yes, they do. Which it's surprised. Well, they fired Stefanski. So, yeah.
They did after 6 years, and that's probably a mistake because he's a good coach, but what a mess they are. There are certain franchises like the Jets, most of my life, garbage.
God.
The Browns, after the first few years when they were really good, then when they moved back to Cleveland, they've been garbage ever since. There's just certain franchises where the people at the top, they're going to make bad decisions. And that's why they're picking at the top of the draft every year. The Raiders are a disaster. A disaster.
Man, Brady is trying to figure out what to do. I think he's the coach of Miami. I think Brian Flores.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to get him, which is weird because he's suing the NFL and yet he's one of the
and he pissed off all the players in Miami. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we'll see. I know Brady's involved, but the truth is he's not the decision maker. It's Mark Davis.
No.
Mark Davis has the power. He's in control, and that's how you know that's a rudderless ship.
But how can you not listen to Brady? I mean, apparently they say he's got a little bit more involvement, whatever that means. Who knows?
Well, they got the number one pick.
Yeah.
So do you take Mendoza? Do you take Dante Moore? Do you take a quarterback? You probably have to go quarterback there.
Yeah, you have to go after Geno, which, thank God, being a Seahawk, that we went the right direction. Because apparently I heard that Brady wanted they wanted Geno. They didn't want Darnold. And thank God the Seahawks took Darnold. And I get it. He's like, this is Minnesota Vikings the year before.
Yeah.
Look at the Seahawks. But they're number one seed.
They look great.
Kind of like the Broncos. Why can you be upset with the Broncos as the number one seed?
I don't care how it looks. All I know is in my life, this is very simple. 8 times the Broncos have been the 1 seed. 6 times they've advanced to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's the number 1 seed is a significant advantage. And it's not, I think the rest is critical and being able to get, reset and get ready for the playoffs and be 100% when that game plays. But Sean Payton was talking over the weekend. He thinks the real value in being the 1 seed is that you miss a round of playoffs.
Yeah.
You automatically
Injuries.
skip a round of Russian roulette where you can lose a game and you're playing at home in the
People are
divisional
getting
round.
hurt and injured.
Yeah.
Look at the last play of the game against the Seahawks with the 49ers, and Brock Purdy goes down. They said it's
Brutal.
a stinger,
Yeah.
but injuries just in those games can make a big difference.
Oh, it's
So, yeah.
unbelievable. Real quick, Oregon getting 4 points against Indiana. What do you think about that one?
It's gone to 3.5 now.
Money's
Well, mine. But I just don't see Oregon's path there. Indiana
Because Indiana's been so good.
It's a complete team, special teams
with a great coach.
with a great coach, a guy who does not. If you watched him in that last game, his face the whole time was just curmudgeon-y, but he was great and just kept his pressure, and it like they've done all season. They're ahead 3-0, then you're like, okay, maybe 10, and then 14-7, and then it just keeps going,
Yeah.
and then they win by 20, 25.
They're a smart team. They don't make
Yeah.
a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a heck of a game. I
And
can't wait.
I heard that the running backs there's a whole problem with the running backs in the Oregon room. They're hitting the portal, injuries, clavicle on one of the starting running backs. So who's going to be, running back for
and
Oregon?
running the ball is going to be critical in that game.
Yeah.
All right, Colin Amos, for those who don't know, he is with the law offices of Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE. When you call 1-800-DIVORCE, Colin is the one who answers any of your questions, and that first call is at no charge. It's a free consultation. He joins me every month to answer your questions. I like this first one, Colin, because it deals with that crazy guy, Sherrone Moore, the former coach at Michigan. Here's the question. If Sherrone Moore and his wife are headed for divorce, and I would imagine they are, how do you see that situation playing out between he and his wife and his legal troubles? So we know the story. He had a side piece in the Michigan office, and then he ended up holding someone hostage. He's been charged with criminal activity. Obviously, a horrific situation. But how does that normally play out? So he no longer has a job.
And he lost he forfeited the money he could have had because
Yes.
of bad behavior.
Does that will play out to some degree in the court process, right?
Yeah, his wife is exceptionally upset right now, not because of that, but because her spousal support payment just went down significantly. This guy, not only did he lose his job, which is advice out there, if, somebody's having trouble, the breadwinner, whomever that may be, female, male, doesn't matter, is having trouble. The last thing you want to do is start messing with their job, calling the job and saying, hey, he's doing this or she's doing that. And if they lose their job and they can't earn that income, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because that spousal support payment, which he obviously would have had a lot of spousal support, that ongoing income, which now he's not going to be able to get a job doing anything, you just sacrifice it. So that's going to play out dimly. I mean,
So for you angry spouses out there, don't go after your spouse's work and try to ruin their job,
That's right.
because it's only going to hurt you in the end.
That's right.
And the kids, too.
That's right. But certainly the kids. But, they're going to be hurt by the other aspects of this, which are going to be problematic for him now with parenting time. But, there's a lot of people who get into legal disputes and criminal problems that still can see their kids. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad father, but he certainly makes some questionable decisions.
Unbelievable. Crazy. The next question, Colin, I saw in the news last week that Chauncey Billups sold his house in Lake Oswego. Do you think he is liquidating and moving assets to protect his family and make sure the feds don't take everything if he's found guilty? What does your legal mind tell you?
Well, not practicing in this area, you got to think that there's some kind of consolidation going with him financially. The question is the feds know what's going on when they go after somebody, and if they feel that there's going to be some kind of financial impact, they can lock things down, they can freeze accounts. But if they haven't frozen accounts, which I'm not sure what they would do in that situation, if they haven't frozen things, you bet. I mean, you're going to, he's not going to have a job in Oregon anymore, so liquidating the house in Lake Oswego makes sense. But I would definitely be trying to get my money to a safer place to protect my family, especially after something embarrassing like that.
We're talking to Colin Amos from Goldberg Jones, Divorce for Men. Call 1-800-DIVORCE. If you're facing a divorce or have a custody issue or need a prenuptial agreement, Colin can assist with all of that. 1-800-DIVORCE. Next question.
Or you need some betting advice. If I give that out for free too.
He gives it out for free, but your over under your totals for the year pretty good.
I crushed that.
Pretty
Crushed
good
that.
for my man. What's the downside of moving out of the house during a divorce?
Yeah, that's when I tell people be very careful of that because your behavior sets a precedent. Moving out can have an impact on custody and visitation. So you got to be very careful. Now, during the divorce, once we've filed, we're usually in a process of navigating temporary orders, what we call temporary relief or temporary orders. It says temporarily while we go through the divorce, we need some rules set up. Temporary parenting plan, temporary child support, temporary spousal support, allocation of financial responsibility, who pays the bills, the debts, credit card, all that stuff. So during the divorce, as long as you've made sure that, hey, you're going to see your kids, you can have a parenting plan, you have a place to go, you have a place to have them, that you're not overcompensating the financials too much, but you're paying all the bills of the household. Because when you move out and you then have to go to court later, and the court says, here's what your temporary child support or temporary spousal support and who pays the bills. He's like, well, yeah, I just signed a lease over here, or I just bought a new car and I have a car payment. It's like, well, too bad. So you got to be very careful to understand financially what your exposure is before you start moving out and making other arrangements.
Interesting. Next question. What is mediation in a divorce process?
Mediation is a great tool to use at the right time. Mediation is an opportunity to sit down with a third party and try to work out your differences. It's a lot of people start a case with mediation. I think it's the wrong time to go to mediation because they feel like, hey, we don't want to pay attorneys. Totally get that. We want to be amicable. Totally understand that. So let's sit down with this third party at the beginning and just try to work out a deal.
Yeah.
The problem is the role of a mediator. Everybody has a role. The role of a mediator is to get an agreement. Could be a bad agreement, but it's an agreement. Now, they're not trying to get a bad agreement, but their role is not to educate both sides to the nth degree of their details and what their rights are and what makes sense for them. They're trying to get a deal, and it could be just a bad deal or an inadequate deal. So before you go to mediation, great thing to have. We use it all the time in divorce, but usually we do discovery. We get all the information on the table. We've done valuation analysis on whether it be businesses, whether it be house, whether it be retirement accounts. Everything's on the table, so we can now say, okay, we know what exists. Let's talk about dividing it.
Yeah.
Then you got to go in with your agenda. So meet with an attorney. Say, hey, I don't want to hire you because I don't want to pay you. Totally get it. But I need to know what to prepare for so that I can use mediation and use the mediator to help me get to a fair deal, something that makes sense that I can live with into the future. Because I can tell you there's some mediated agreements that I just shake my head and I said, yeah, you got a deal. Now you're going to pay me 5 times more in legal fees to tear down this deal and rebuild your parenting plan. Or one, I can't help you with your property and debt. You're just stuck on the mortgage now. You can't require a refinance now. So be prepared. But yes, mediation is great. It's just another tool that we use, but it has to be used at the right time.
All right, and this is why I always recommend, and Colin recommends you call 1-800-DIVORCE before you make any decisions. Next question, Colin. What are the circumstances where you recommend a do-it-yourself divorce?
Well, certainly if people are agreeable, that's critical because it's hard to do it yourself if the other side doesn't really agree. But the do-it-yourself is a situation where if you don't have a lot to lose, quite frankly, if you have kids, if you have property or debt of significance, making a mistake can be really painful, not because you're trying, but because you just don't know what you don't know. And a lot of people put together a do-it-yourself. I meet with them all the time, and I'm like, I can't fix this problem for you, or I might be able to fix it.
Yeah.
I just talked with a guy today who agreed to this spousal support that he can't afford. And I said, that's not the standard for modification now is not that you did a bad deal or you can't afford it. It's a substantial change. It was a bad deal then. It's a bad deal today. Nothing has changed. I can't modify it for you. So, do it yourself is great. Just make sure, maybe meet with somebody, make sure that I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Yeah. And I've referred people I know to you, where they'll call and they ask the questions and you walk them through it. And then you're like, no, this is a do-it-yourself. Like
Sure.
You'll recommend that if that's the case.
Yeah, because they have forms online. Oregon State has all the forms, and they have a package with the information. I give that website out all the time
Yeah.
to go to the Oregon State Bar, and they have links to the forms.
I think they even have services or people that they'll just, once you've agreed to everything, they'll put the paperwork together for you.
Yeah, you can do like a paralegals. Yeah. I refer people to paralegals where it is that simple, and they don't need to pay me to do it. But when they get into, they have things of significance, and if you make a mistake, that's when I say you might, if you have an agreement, maybe have an attorney draft that agreement.
All right, final question. Colin, how does the discovery process work during divorce proceedings?
Yeah, that's kind of goes with the mediation. At the beginning of every case, there's this discovery process where
Is
it's
this where dudes are trying to hide their assets?
they can't be. But I say, don't do this. Don't do this.
It's very
Not a
bad
good
for
idea.
you.
Don't do it. But discovery is basically statutorily, you're required to provide all of the information, all your checking accounts, savings accounts, credit card statements, retirement accounts, real property, anything that exists. We share all that information past 3 years, past 5 years. All of it's discoverable. That's why it's called discovery, that financial information, both sides. Because how can you really negotiate a fair and equitable deal if people are hiding the assets? And there's a lot of people that have been managing all the finances. The person comes in and says, I don't know what exists. Well, that is why we have this discovery process. That's
to protect
required.
people in that situation.
Yeah, so that if somebody asks, if you don't ask for it, you're not required to get it. But if you ask for it and said, hey, provide all this information, they're required to provide it so that you can get to a fair deal.
It would seem to me, based on what I know about human behavior, that a divorce proceeding, there would be a high probability of people not wanting to be 100% honest when it comes to discovery.
Absolutely, which is why even the legislature has this. It's the statute is 107.089, and it's just required when you file a divorce, you get served with this statutorily. You got to disclose this. Don't go don't transfer your house to your dad or your brother. Do all these transactions where people are getting smarter than the system. Everything, unless it's money under a mattress that doesn't exist, that's nobody knows exists.
Yeah,
there's a paper trail. It's a paper trail. So the minute you start moving things around, the court says, "Oh, I get it. You're a liar," and now they don't trust other things you're trying to present to them.
I do have a one or two friends that are like conspiracy theorists, so they don't use banks. They just keep their money under their bed. And I'm
well,
like,
there you
crazy.
go.
They're
perfect for their divorce. Nobody knows what exists.
Not even traceable.
That's right.
So in the event you get divorced, you can keep that suitcase full of money you've been
until
collecting.
Your wife knows it's under the bed, and then you look under it and it's gone, and it never existed.
It never existed.
It's gone.
That's great. All right, 1-800-DIVORCE if you have a custody issue, you're facing a divorce, or you need a prenuptial agreement. Now, if you want free gambling advice, I think that number is 1-800-COLIN-WINS.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, something like that.
Or you can check them out online. Just go to goldbergjones-or.com. And Colin joins me every month. But as always, buddy, thanks for the time I got to meet with you at the Blazer game a couple of weeks ago. That was awesome to see you and Rick. But I appreciate you, and good luck this weekend.
Thanks.
This is one of the greatest football weekends of all time.
It's going to be fun.
Thursday, Friday, right into
Thursday,
wild card weekend.
Beautiful. Love it.
The only thing I hate is that there's a Blazer game on Friday and on Sunday, so I'm going to have to work and watch games at the same time.
Oh, man, that's tough.
It's brutal.
It's especially if you've been drinking. Now, you don't drink, but it would not be good for me to be on the air.
I talked to the sales lady, Kate. She said, man, Rick and Colin make it tough. You got to be ready to go.
We are ready to go. When we go to those, we're not going dry.
We're here to tie one on.
We're not going dry.
All right, Colin Amos, he'll be back next month to answer your questions. We'll keep things rolling. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up at 5. Boy, I love the vocals of Jeff Tate from Queens. I think it was Jeff Tate that was telling me that, through his travel. I think it was Jeff Tate that was telling me that, through his travels around the world, he's been impressed because when he's overseas now, he sees a lot of Northwest labels popping up on menus in France and elsewhere. And I think what he told me is that it's the soils here in the Northwest which allow for growing many different types of grapes. And that's why they're able to produce a variety of quality wines here in the Northwest. I did not think I was going to get that type of information from Jeff Tate, but yet I did. All right, I got a sweet card in the mail. And again, I've been out of the office for, a couple of weeks. I was sick. I mean, really sick, dog sick. So I did a lot of work from home and obviously a Moda Center, but I had to take a couple of days off because I was in bed running a ridiculous fever. I woke up on Christmas. I'm like, why do I feel like such garbage? And I took my temperature. It was like 102.7. I was like, well, that might have something to do with it. Not a doctor or anything, but it was pretty bad. But it's been a rough month. My brother passed away last month, and, I had the skin cancer removed off my grill, which, by the way, that guy is Michelangelo. My face is healing up pretty well. And then I got sick, and so I had to push back my colonoscopy. So I'm looking forward to that exploration coming up here in a couple of weeks. But I came in today, and I had a sweet card that was sent to me here at the station from Heidi Kirlmeyer, who is out in Kaiser. And it says, with deepest sympathy. And I opened it up, and it said, here's what the card said: gone from our sight, but never our memories, gone from our touch, but never our hearts. It says, Chad, I'm so sorry to hear of your loss of your brother. Remember the good times. I so enjoy you and your great stories you share. I was fortunate to meet you in person at the casino. I hope your holidays are nice, and sympathy to you and your kids, and have some coffee time on me. And she sent me a Starbucks card. So, Heidi, I just want to say thank you so much for the kind words. And it was great to meet you as well. And I appreciate people when they take time to reach out and express their condolences. It means a lot to me. Big thanks to Colin Amos for joining us here in studio. He's geeked up for the games this weekend. I'm so pumped. And I was just looking at the line. So there is some movement that's going on right now with the point spreads in the wild card weekend. In fact, I'll just go through all the key football games. Right now, I'm looking at A. Miami is now a 3.5-point favorite over Ole Miss, and Indiana is a 3.5-point favorite over Oregon. The Ole Miss Miami game will be Thursday at 4:30 on ESPN. Oregon, Indiana, of course, will be Friday, 4:30 on ESPN. I will be at Spirit Mountain Casino from 2 until 5 on Friday. So join me down there. I'm going to broadcast live from the BetMGM Sportsbook. I'll have some sweet giveaways. There'll be drink specials, food specials, and more. Keep in mind, they got 18 LED screens, big cushy chairs to relax in and watch the game. And their big screen, which they'll have the Duck game on, I think is 165 inches, which is pretty sweet. So I'll be down there for the college football playoffs. So both teams, Miami and Oregon right now, Miami and Indiana, 3.5-point favorites. Now in the NFL, with Wild Card Weekend, the first game on Saturday, Rams at the Panthers, 1:30. LA is a 10-point favorite. 5 o'clock on Saturday, Packers at the Bears. That game is a pick'em. Sunday morning, Buffalo at Jacksonville. The Bills were 1.5 by 3.5 over the Chargers. That game's going to be Sunday evening. Patriots are favored by 3.5 over the Chargers. That game's going to be Sunday evening. And Monday Night Football, Texans at the Steelers. Houston favored by 3. All right, we'll come back. It's Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday time. I got 2 pair. One for tomorrow's game against Houston, one for Friday's game against Houston. All you have to do is listen to me next for your chance to win on the Rip City Drive. All right, what's up? It's now 5 o'clock. Big news from the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens have parted ways with longtime head coach John Harbaugh after their loss Sunday night in Pittsburgh, which eliminated them from postseason contention. Your Portland Trailblazers on fire right now. They're 17-20 after their 20-point win over the Jazz last night. They are 5-1 in their last 6. They're back at it tomorrow at Moda against the Houston Rockets for the first of 2. Tomorrow night's game, and then Houston once again on Friday. The tip-off will be 7 o'clock. Chris Burkhardt will be live with Blazers Game Day at 5 o'clock. We got the college football playoff on Thursday. Ole Miss and Miami in one semifinal. 4:30 kick on ESPN. Canes favored by 3. Friday, Ducks will take on the Hoosiers. Indiana favored by 4. That kickoff at 4:30 on ESPN. Join me at Spirit Mountain Casino, your place to bet on college sports. I'll be broadcasting live from the BetMGM Sportsbook from 2 to 5. All right, got Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up here in a few minutes. The Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks are your number 1 seeds in the AFC and NFC conferences as we get ready for wild card action this weekend. And there's been a lot of Bronco fans who have, I don't know, they're freaking out. I guess they weren't happy with the way they beat the Chargers. They're not happy with the offense. And yet the team's got 14 wins. And they've got the number 1 seed. They're in the perfect position to get to the Super Bowl. But in today's world of analytics, no one's ever happy with anything, which is annoying. I'm thrilled. I know, and have been around long enough, 40 years as a Bronco fan, you don't complain or get upset about 14 wins and the number 1 seed. You just celebrate it. Yes, there are areas where they can improve, but still, man, 14 wins is 14 wins. But Dan Orlovsky had some interesting insight on one Bo Nix. Take a listen to this.
All right, what quarterback in the NFL this year had the best, number 1, touchdown to interception ratio when his team was trailing? Or what quarterback this year had the best total QBR this year when his team was trailing? It wasn't Drake May. It wasn't Matthew Stafford. It wasn't Sam Darnold. It wasn't Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't Josh Allen. It wasn't Dak Prescott. It wasn't Justin Herbert. It wasn't Jared Goff. It was Bo Nix. No, Bo wasn't unbelievable this year. I've talked about the roller coaster ride that he had. But 17 touchdowns to 2 interceptions when his team was trailing. When they needed him to play his best, he did. When he needed to be his best, he was. When that team needed him to make a play, he did it. And will it bite them in the playoffs? I don't know. The roller coaster ride, the erratic play, will it bite them? I don't know. Will he make that same throw or clutch run in the playoffs the way he did in the regular season? We will find out. But this season, when his team needed him to be his best and be one of the best quarterbacks in football, he was. He was incredibly clutch. We'll find out if that continues in the playoffs.
All right, there you go. So Bo Nix, in situations where his team was trailing, very effective. 17 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also, there's a good chance that J.K. Dobbins, their leading rusher, is going to be back for the AFC title game if they advance to that game, which is a good sign. And I'm pretty excited. Pretty good. And right now in the NFL playoffs, I like the Rams -10 against the Panthers. I'll take the Packers, pick them over the Bears in Chicago. I like the Jags over the Bills down in Jacksonville. Buffalo's defense and inability to stop the run is going to prove costly. And Jacksonville is one of the most explosive teams in football right now. I like the Eagles to take out the depleted 49ers. I like the Chargers over the Patriots. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert as an underdog is incredible. And I lean Steelers plus the 3 points at home against Houston. I think the Ducks have a legitimate chance to top Indiana in the rematch. I think there's an advantage in that. Alex Brink talked about it. And I love the way they've been able to play at the line of scrimmage. You know, the Ducks are physically positioned better today than they ever have been to win a national championship. It's not going to be easy, but they've got a chance to do it. And they're going to take on the best team in order to get there. How sweet would a Miami-Oregon matchup be in the title game? That would be pretty good. 503-248-0620. All right, we have one pair to give away right now. This is for the game coming up tomorrow. Rockets and Trailblazers. Now, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday runs every Tuesday throughout the entire basketball season. It's courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers. And for all of your ticket needs, you can simply head over to trailblazers.com. Let's see here. What do we want to celebrate today? What should we celebrate today? Yeah, Bo Nix is number 10. He earned the number 1 seed. So right now, caller 10 at 503-248-0620 will get a pair of tickets for the Rockets game tomorrow at Moda Center, tip-off at 7. 503-248-0620. I want to hear from a Blazer fan. Show me your Blazer. 503-248-0620. Caller 10 right now gets a pair of tickets for the Rockets and Trailblazers at Moda Center tomorrow. And you're catching them at the right time because they're on fire. They've won 5 of their last 6, 17-20, and they're coming off a big win last night against the Utah Jazz. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And there you go. The phones have lit up instantly. Now, when Shacker's done with that one, we do have another pair of tickets to give away. But very happy with the way that this weekend sets up. I'm so excited for the football. And I've discovered that when your team is good, it makes the playoff experience that much better. All right, 503-248-0620. Now, Bo Nix was asking an interesting question after the Charger game about friendly booze. I did not know there was such a thing, but let's take a listen to this.
You mentioned style points. When you get those kind of, I guess, loving boos from the home crowd, how do you internalize that and see that? Because, you know, they want you to do it, but they're mad.
Well, wait a second. What is a loving boo? I don't think there's a such thing as a loving boo. A loving boo.
Well, you know, it's funny. It's our job to give them a good quality experience, and they, you know, show up to see us win. And, you know, obviously we've won a lot of games this year, but, you know, it's good. They're not going to be complacent, and they want more. And, you know, I hope that we're never the fan base that just sits back there and just know we're going to win the game and doesn't get on their feet, doesn't cheer. Because then that's when, you know, winning becomes redundant and you take for granted winning. So I think, you know, it's going to be good to have that same passion, that same energy, you know, flipped and go against the opponent in a few weeks. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, they're not really booing me. They're not booing a certain player. They're not booing a certain coach. It's just kind of the whole thing. And once one guy does it, the whole fans do it. So it's a part of the game. Every time I get this question, I feel like I'll say it. I've been booed before, and I'll be booed again. And, you know, nothing's going to change out of me. They're going to get the same effort and, you know, trying to do our best out there. And, you know, we got a good team and got a team that we're all trying to find ways to grow and learn. And, you know, we're not complacent right now as a team, which is good going into the playoffs. You know, we still feel like we have some hunger about us.
That's how you answer that question. Now, Russell Westbrook's response would have been, well, I find all the fans that are booing with their loving boos, and I would have them escorted out of the stadium. They don't belong there. But Bo Nix gets it. You know, the fans, they pay big money to go to the games. And if you're not producing the way that they think you should produce, or you kick 4 field goals, they might boo you. But it was a little bit weird in that game to have the fans booing the team when they're on their way to securing the 1 seed. But expectations are high, and that's the way it goes. People expect production. And I think what it comes down to And there are a lot of fan bases like this because you can look at different aspects of your team. I think Bronco fans are concerned because they don't think the offense right now is good enough to win a Super Bowl. That's what it comes down to. It's not good enough to win a Super Bowl. That's the way they see it. But I've seen enough football over the course of time where you don't have to have a dynamic offense. When your defense gets stops and keeps you in games and can hold a team less than 20 points, you're going to have a chance to win every game, regardless of how effective you are on offense. Defense, it's funny how football, with all the innovation, if you stop the run and can run the football, you're going to be in a lot of games, period. It's the way it goes. And we've seen it proven out over the course of time. That's what it comes down to. All right. The phone lines are clearing out, which is a good thing because we have a second pair of tickets to give away. This will be for the Rocket game on Friday. The Houston Rockets will be in town on Friday. So right now we'll take caller 11 for the Houston Rocket game on Friday. This is the second pair, 503-248-0620. Caller 11, 503-248-0620. Fire away with your phone calls right now. 11th caller gets a pair of tickets for Friday's game against the Rockets. 503, I want to hear from a Blazer fan. Caller 11 gets a pair of tickets for Friday's game. Fire away right now. Light them up, baby. 503-248-0620. And there you have it. Every Tuesday throughout the course of the entire season, we're going to have tickets for every single Trailblazer home game, courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. John Harbaugh and the Ravens have parted ways. The Detroit Lions have fired offensive coordinator John Morton. Not a surprise after what they did this year. The Washington Commanders and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury have mutually agreed to part ways after they met with Dan Quinn. And the team fired defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. That's a surprise. Kingsbury did a great job last year helping guide the Commanders to the NFC title game. The Falcons restructure Kirk Cousins' deal. They've agreed to modify the final 2 years of the contract, setting the stage for a decision on his Atlanta future to be made by the third day of the 2026 league year. Cousins, props to him. He played exceptional football down the stretch, looking better coming off that Achilles injury. And there you have it. That's what we're looking at. Wow. The Cowboys have fired Matt Eberflus. Quote, change is needed. Obviously, their defense was hot garbage this year. And we'll see. We'll see how things work out. Looking forward to the games this weekend. All right, we're going to come back. We'll talk some Broncos. We'll take a look at the wild card matchups. Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA in Denver, going to join me next. Congratulations to our two winners. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Every Tuesday, your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer home game. All right, joining us now, our good friend who is with 850 KOA in Denver, Ryan Edwards is back. And Ryan, it's always awesome. My dad's birthday was on Sunday, so I surprised him with a day trip to Denver for the Bronco game. And I love getting in early and being able to sit back and listen to you and Benjamin Albright on the radio broadcast as we're getting ready for kickoff. So, man, it's good to hear your voice as always.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks so much. And, yeah, I appreciate the kind words on Twitter as well when you're at the stadium. That's awesome.
Dude, it was great. I know a lot of Bronco fans were frustrated throughout the course of the game because of the offense. But, I've learned over the course of time that when your favorite team wins 14 games and gets the number one seed, and to my count, 8 times they've been the one seed, 6 times they've advanced to the Super Bowl, it's a major advantage to avoid that first round and get 2 games at home. You can't beat it.
Just tell me you weren't one of the people booing them as they were struggling on offense with their vanilla offense. But please tell me that.
Yeah, I was not. And it was kind of disturbing because I'm thinking, wow, they're booing, and this team's on their way to securing the number one seed. And I love how it was phrased to Bo after the game when he was asked about the, quote, loving boos. And I was thinking, I've never heard a lovely boo in my life. Gosh.
Yeah, man, listen, he said it perfect. He's like, hey, I've been booed before. I'll be booed again. And that's just part of the job. And that's probably the right response. I tend to be sort of an anti-boo the home team because it kind of messes with the home field advantage. But, I mean, it sort of is what it is. And in the end, the Broncos accomplished the goal that they set out for, right? They won the division, and then they were able to secure the 1 seed, and now they get a bye and get a chance to rest up. And I think what Sean said was even more important is you don't risk losing in the first round. You don't risk losing in wild card weekend and having your season end abruptly. Now you get a chance to sit back. You get to watch some of these teams, let them battle it out, let them potentially have some injuries, and you get ready for the next round.
I wanted to ask you, in particular with Bo, and we see this across sports, the NBA and baseball as well. Do you think that it's the analytics with the advanced numbers that people are looking at now that a guy like Bo in his second year can win, 14 games, get the 1 seed, and yet people somehow are not satisfied with that? Is it the analytics that are having an impact on the way people see sports now?
I do think so. And I think it's kind of analytics run amok. Because so many stats can tell you a bunch of different things, and Bo Nix is a perfect example of that. I can mine up about a dozen stats right now and tell you how great Bo Nix is and how he's putting up numbers and obviously the wins and matching some all-time performances by quarterbacks. And then somebody will come in and say, yeah, but the efficiency numbers and the DVOA and EPA and they can put those numbers together and tell you why Bo Nix is struggling out there. So I do think that always with those numbers, and I'm not anti-advanced analytics. I actually like them quite a bit. I just think that if you don't marry them up with what you're watching, then I do think that it's a bit of a disadvantage to the entire conversation. And it does a disservice to advanced analytics, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't want to make excuses for, the Broncos going 0 for 3 in the red zone this past weekend against the Chargers. But I watched Tim Jenkins break down, and I've listened to other coaches share their thoughts. I mean, don't you think that it's quite possible that Sean Payton, knowing that there's a very good chance they could face the Chargers again in 2 weeks, that he did have a more, I don't know how to word it, vanilla game plan against the Chargers? Because you don't want to show too much when you know you might face them again in 2 weeks.
It's 100% what was happening. Now, again, it doesn't mean that you can't execute better, and I think the players will acknowledge that part of it. But the players, they understand. Everybody understands. And I was talking to my co-host Dave Logan, who does the voice of the team, and he was saying how you get into the game, you get a sense of how things are going, and you say, well, gosh, I just don't think Trey Lance is going to be able to hang in there. As long as we don't go out there and lose this game, we're going to win it pretty handily. And so then at that point, whatever game plan you had, you just sort of cross it off and say, we'll keep this in mind for 2 weeks, because clearly the LA Chargers, by the admission that they didn't say they're trying to lose, but by the fact that you're sitting your quarterback and key players, you're acknowledging that you're not trying to put your best product out there on the field. You don't have the intention of winning that game, which is also an admission that you think you're going to be back here in 2 weeks. You think you can go into New England and win that game, and you're going to be back here in Denver for the divisional round. And so if that's the case, both teams may be playing a little close to the vest under the circumstances, knowing they'll see each other in a couple of weeks.
I would agree with that. Now, I saw Dan Orlovsky's breakdown about Bo Nix, and how well he played when his team was trailing. I think 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions and the QBR. What is it about the Broncos this year that's allowed them to be effective in those late game situations? What have you seen?
Well, I mean, some of it's like a culture thing that they've built up. They knew they were bad in one-score games last year, so that was a big focus this year. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be just because you focus on it, but they understood that that was going to be really their path to success this year. They understand the margins are still relatively narrow. They're still eating the dead cap hit from Russell Wilson's contract, which is over $30 million just this year. So that's a couple players that you're not going to be able to field for your team. So you're going to work in those margins again, which means you have to be better in one-score games. So there's just a mindset of, hey, somebody's going to make a play, whether it's going to be Bo Nix, whether it's going to be somebody on defense, whether it's one of our receivers or running backs. I mean, they've found unique ways every single week. And when you have that sort of instilled belief within the team, and then you start to find success with it, it builds on itself. And we talk about that all the time, right? Winning and losing, you go on streaks, and part of that is because of momentum, and the momentum swings both ways. But if it is positive and you do find success, then you come back to work the next week and say, gosh, we could do that again. And they were able to do that 11 times this year.
All right, I want to get your take on these wild card matchups, your first look and kind of how you think it's going to play out. Let's deal with the AFC games first because I'm really intrigued by them. Buffalo at Jacksonville. You know, the Jags, one of the hottest teams in football right now, a big play offense, and they've been very good defensively of late. They're taking on Buffalo, who's got the best player on the planet, but the Bills, like every other team, has a fatal flaw. What's your take on this matchup?
That's the game of the weekend for me. I mean, it really is. You nailed it as far as the breakdown there. I mean, Jacksonville is brimming with confidence. They're kind of like Chicago, though, for me, because they have sort of lived and died by the turnovers, the takeaways on defense. So it'll be interesting to see if Buffalo doesn't stub their own toe, if they can find success with James Cook on the ground and maybe even Josh Allen. Then what does Jacksonville do if they're not getting those key takeaways in moments? Now, it's not to say that their offense isn't prolific and they can move the ball, but I think Buffalo's secondary is playing a lot better over the last few weeks. And so I'd like to see that matchup if suddenly the passing game isn't as great for Jacksonville and they do need to run the ball more effectively. I like Buffalo's chances of going into Jacksonville and winning that game if they can play their game. But if they get off track, if they start to have to chase a little bit, and Jacksonville turns them over a couple times, then Jacksonville might win that thing in a blowout. It could really swing that way.
Yeah, I see it that way. Now, Monday night, Houston is at Pittsburgh. Of course, the Steelers coming off that remarkable Sunday night game against Baltimore. Tomlin, historically, as an underdog, has been terrific, and they're 23-1 in their last 24 games on Monday night. But the Texans, of all the teams I've seen this year, I think they got the best defense. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, that feels like a rock fight. At least early on, kind of like what we saw with the Ravens and the Steelers in the first half. It was like a 10-3 game. It feels like this one's going to be really low scoring early on. Maybe you see some fireworks late. I don't know if I completely buy the Texans offense. And so that's where it's like, okay, home field advantage. You got the Steelers. The Texans have done a pretty good job of winning their first round matchup over the last few years, but they're going to go on the road here. They're not hosting this time.
Yeah.
So I kind of like the Steelers to win that game. I think they're going to carry some of that momentum here into the postseason.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think that's a good assessment. Now, one of the more fascinating games. Can you imagine winning 14 games, getting the 2 seed, and you draw Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert? That is a tough matchup for your first game.
It is a tough matchup, especially because the Chargers defense is very, very good. Now, what Justin Herbert are we going to get, right? Because postseason Justin Herbert is not a good quarterback. And he threw 4 interceptions last year in their first-round matchup, and they got bounced pretty quickly. So if they can go into New England, again, if they can run the ball, they're going to play great defense. The Patriots don't have a ton of pass rush, so that's the one advantage here is if you think about for Justin Herbert and that offensive line, I don't think he's going to be under as much pressure as he's been dealing with. So if he can operate, they can run the ball. I would not be stunned if the Chargers win that game, but once again, if it's put on Justin Herbert to win the game, that could be a problem for them.
Boy, that would be fun, though. A Charger-Bronco third time in the divisional round, like that would be a lot of fun with Peyton and Harbaugh. That'd be nice.
It would be. It's interesting. You know, we get into the discussion already about who you want to see or who you're scared of out here. I think the Broncos can find ways to match up with anybody, but there is something about that matchup with Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh's had the better of Sean over the last few years, and so that will be an interesting matchup there. Again, both teams playing really close to the vest, relatively vanilla. But the Chargers were trying to send a message in that game this last Sunday. They were more physical than the Broncos were. They were trying to let them know, hey, when we're back here in 2 weeks, you got more of this coming. So I'm fascinated to see what that ultimately looks like. But I think both teams are going to be ready for that game.
I agree. I think the two teams that concern me the most, I'm worried about the Chargers because I think they match up well with Denver, and I think their pressure rate, I think, against Bo Nix is like tops of the teams they face this year. Like, their defense is super legit, and I love their secondary. So the Chargers concern me, and I respect Jim Harbaugh a great deal. And I would say both Buffalo and Jacksonville concern me. One, because Josh Allen is a problem, and two, Jacksonville right now appears to be a juggernaut. So those are the teams that concern me. I wouldn't mind a Pittsburgh matchup in the divisional round, to be honest with you, but those other teams, like it is when you get to this stage of the season, those games are tough, and they're well coached, and a couple of mistakes, and you can be behind the eight ball in a hurry.
No, you're absolutely right, and of course they wouldn't see Jacksonville to the championship game anyways. But that's true. You're absolutely right as far as the rest of it goes, and Buffalo can run the ball. When you can do that in the postseason and you play decent defense, you can put yourself in a position to win a lot of games, and Buffalo's done that. So it just feels like the experience of Josh Allen would be a big scare here in Denver because you know what he can do when he takes over a game. That would be a really fascinating matchup. I think they are probably my number one team that I would be the most worried about because of that experience. And everybody else, I like the Texans don't stress me out as much because of their inconsistencies on offense, and they probably say the same thing about the Broncos. But their inconsistencies on offense make me think, all right, well, I think the Broncos can more or less, hang in that game. They won in Houston earlier this year, and I know that Houston's ripped off 8 straight wins since that game, but that was their loss. That was the loss that sort of spurned them. So, and then when it comes to the Steelers, I think you're right. I think it's probably the game everybody would want here in Denver. So, but that would take them handling business, and of course, it would also mean that the Patriots and the Jags won. Yeah,
that's true. So fascinating. My favorite part of the game on Sunday, to be honest with you, was seeing Garrett Bowles lying still on the ground, their left tackle, who was one of the best in the game. I was like, oh, my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. Not in the final game of the year. They're screwed. And then he walks off the field into the blue tent, and then I see him get led out of the tunnel right behind the Broncos bench, and I'm like, well, this is awful. And so I'm looking I'm actually what I was doing is I was looking at your Twitter feed and Ben's Twitter feed because I'm looking for updates. And then in the second half, I see him trot back out on the field. I was like, thank God, because injuries this time of year to critical positions like left tackle can be crippling for a team.
Oh, 100%. And they're, I wouldn't say perilously thin, but it's pretty close.
Yes.
Right? I mean, Frank Crumb's the backup, and I don't think he has a single start under his career. So if you suddenly had to go into the postseason with a guy that was a rookie a couple of years ago out of Wyoming who hasn't played a single, not like starting snap.
Yeah.
He's played some special teams. He's played some jumbo package stuff, but that's about it. That would be significant for this team. And but again, we talked to Garrett on the show today. He said doesn't matter what's happening, even if he can't walk, he's playing in that game. Which of course he's going to be just. I think he's going to be just fine. His ankle's pretty swollen, but he said that there's nothing that's going to keep him out of that game, and of course I believe him. So I think they're going to be all right there. And they actually got some pretty decent injury news out of that game. PJ Locke left the game. It sounds like he's going to be all right, which is great because they're already down Brandon Jones. I think and Alex Forsythe came back into the game. They're expected to have Dre Greenlaw for this game, so they listen. That's why you get the bye because you get a chance to not have to play the next week, and you also can rest up.
Now, what's the latest? Would Brandon Jones and Luke Wattenberg, their starting center, would they be eligible to return for the AFC title game?
No, I believe it's still 4 games, even with the bye. At least
crap.
That's what we were reading up on that today. Yeah, so Brandon Jones is. I don't think he's back until next year. Like I haven't heard anything otherwise. I think he's out. But again, they haven't updated us on it. But as I understand it, he's out. Luke Wattenberg, though, I do think could be back for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
If that ends up being the case, I think he's a short-term IR, only minimum stay 4 games, and that will put him back for the Super Bowl.
Well, the cool thing is, like, Forsyth, former Oregon Duck, and I've got friends who know him and his family really well. Like, he comes from good stock. That's a good young player, and he's probably better in the run blocking than he is pass blocking. But I think he's played well the last couple of games. That he's had to fill in, which is nice. What about J.K. Dobbins? Is there a chance he could be back for the AFC title game? Because that'd be a major boost, shot in the arm for the run game.
He is he's floating it out there, so we'll see.
But he wouldn't float it out there if he wasn't seriously possibly going to be able to return, right?
Yeah, sometimes players can be optimistic. I lean towards that's a possibility, but until he's out on the practice field at all, it's hard to really predict that. But yeah, he would have to. I mean, he's already done his minimum stay, right? I mean, he's been out several weeks, several months, so it would be one of those deals where there was hey, he could be ready for the Super Bowl, which is obviously February. But then, last few weeks we started hearing some rumblings that he could be there for the AFC Championship game. I don't know what sort of conditioning and how many snaps he would be available for that game, but you got to imagine, knowing with an opportunity to go to his first Super Bowl, he's going to give you everything he got.
Yeah.
And I think they'd welcome him back at this point because the run game has not been the same without him.
No, 100%. Now, with the NFC games, I want to get your quick take on these matchups. What do you think about the Rams at the Panthers? Are laying 10, the same number they were laying a couple of weeks ago when they lost outright.
I know, right? It's just one of those, like, did we not watch that game just a couple of weeks ago where the Panthers won that game?
No.
10 seems like a lot of points, but the Rams are the better team.
Yes.
And you sort of feel like maybe they were overlooking the Panthers. I mean, I'm not really sure. They're the overall better team. They'll play better. 10 still feels like a lot. I probably would take the points there, but I do think it'll be a good game. I think the Rams win, though.
Hard to believe that the Bears and Packers, I think this is going to be like the third time they've met in the postseason. It's a pick-em right now, third meeting between the two. They split the first 2 games. The Packers have been beat up over the last few weeks, but they did get rest of some of their key guys before the game. What do you think about the Packers and Bears?
Yeah, man, that's going to be really good, right? Division games,
awesome.
You get a chance to play each other for the third time. It's that one I really don't know. I mean, I could go either way. I do think there's something to the Packers' experience there versus the Bears maybe a year early, right? I mean, you got a new coaching staff. This is Caleb's first postseason game. Hasn't played any postseason, right? So, but again, they look like the better team. Like if you're just saying who's the better team, I'd say the Bears are the better team.
Yeah,
and they are at home. So I keep going back and forth on that one. I'm end of the week. I'll probably have a better feel for it. I guess if I'm forced to pick it right now, I'd say Bears. But yeah, there's something about the Packers that they play tough, and it's division game. So I'm really interested to see how that one goes.
All right, 49ers, they've been decimated by injury. They lose to Seattle. They're on the road. They'll be at Philadelphia. I mean, it's hard to see the 49ers scratching out a win here, but the Eagles are one of those teams where I know their roster is loaded with talent, but their offense has been a miss all year. It's weird.
Yeah, it has been weird. Yeah, they're so hard to pin down. And then of course they'll make the run and go and win a Super Bowl, right? You're like just when you count them out. I like the Eagles there. I think the 49ers injuries have finally caught up to them. You saw that in the Seattle game, and that they just really couldn't do very much. So, and this one's interesting too because it's a rematch of the NFC title game a couple of years ago. So, 49ers probably are feeling like they want some payback. I just don't know if they have the horses for it. So I like the Eagles to win that one.
Were you watching the Nuggets Heat game live when Jokic went down?
Yeah, that was.
I'm so glad he's okay, man. Jeez.
Kind of one of my top 5. Like, I mean, you're a sports fan moments where you're just like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna throw up.
Yeah. Horrible.
I was so grateful. I mean, we were all, I'm not saying I didn't sleep that night, but you certainly had this, like, am I going to wake up to Shams Charania telling us that Jokic tore his ACLs out for the rest of the year and basically whatever title hopes. And there's a lot of optimism here locally about this team this year that it had been gone. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, as much as I'm excited about Giannis Valanciunas being here, it's not the same. So, but great news. And there was even some better news today from Shams saying that he might be back at the end of January.
Oh,
so we're all holding that hope.
That's great. You and I have the same life experience. We're both Elway fans. The documentary on Netflix I thought was terrific. I'm curious, did you learn anything about Elway in the doc that you didn't know previous?
Yeah, some of the stuff from his personal life was quite revealing. I mean, I knew about his relationship with his dad and how much his dad meant to him, but to see him open up the way he did, to get as emotional about his sister and some of his his marriage stuff. Like I didn't know all about that. I certainly the on-field stuff, the way the game's played and all of that, but getting sort of a peek behind the curtain of even the draft process, and his dad and we knew the reason why they didn't want to go to the Colts, but then also to sort of hear his rationale with it and what he was thinking and how he was really going to go play baseball. And I mean, it was cool to, even if it's a refresh on some of it, to kind of relive it. We have Rod Smith in studio on Tuesdays, and he was obviously a big part of the documentary. And I joked around with him because he said that Shannon Sharp was his favorite guy to throw to, and Rod was like, "I can't believe he said that." But he also acknowledged that Shannon is obviously one of the greatest of all time, certainly at his position. And he's like I learned a lot from Shannon too. But it was great. It was brilliantly done. Like I said, I loved seeing the side of him with his grandkids too. That was
Poppy.
I mean, again, you get. Yeah, right. You get to know him. Like I've gotten to know him a little bit, through his time as a GM, and of course I've had him on, radio shows. But it's just you don't get that side of these guys, these pro athletes. You don't get a chance to see them with their families, with their grandkids, and to see that was really, really cool.
I agree. I thought Janet was sensational in the documentary. I thought she was terrific. Yeah. And then for me, what I was trying to, put myself through was like. So I remember the rumors that had come out, but of course it was after the fact about, Reeves wanting to trade Elway in '92 before Pat Bowlen got rid of Reeves and went with Wade Phillips. But I was trying to think, like, can you imagine you and I in today's world with social media at a younger age, seeing a rumor pop on Twitter that the Broncos are looking to deal Elway to the Raiders? Like, can you imagine that? Like, I would freak out.
It blow my mind. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's catastrophic, right?
That's like trading Luka.
Right. I mean, that'd be the equivalent, right? Where you're just like checking to see if it's a real account, tweeting it out, and you're just like, "There's no way," and then suddenly it's like, "Wow, that's very real." But yeah, I mean, we've talked about that since, but to like hear from the sides. I mean, obviously Dan wasn't available for the doc, but just to hear from the sides on kind of the mindset at the time. And even though Mike Shanahan getting sort of petty fired, because he was trying to, play in between and help out the sides of communication. And I mean, that's how they remember it or whatever. But like that, then Dan Reeves firing him because he felt like he was too close to John and he wanted to, send a message to John. And it was just like, wow, I guess I didn't remember it that way, but that's pretty wild to think about it. And that's also very indicative of some of these big egos, especially when they get in those situations. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, one of the guys, and I've had a chance to talk to him, I remember when they fired Shanahan, that 92 season, Reeves hired Raymond Berry, and Raymond Berry was the quarterback coach that year that worked with John, Right. Isn't that crazy?
Right.
Gosh.
That is pretty wild.
Well, Ryan, man, keep up the great work. I love talking ball with you, and I've been alive long enough, man. The anticipation, you've got to sit back and embrace it and enjoy it. And I just think it's awesome that the Broncos, probably ahead of schedule, year two of Bo. I did not anticipate. I knew they'd be good this year, but I did not envision a 1 seed. So this is awesome.
It is, and I'm same way. We kind of circled 2026 as, the Russ dead cap is off the books. Year 3 of Bo. That's the time to kind of load up and go after it. So to be a year early is exciting, but be greedy. We keep saying that on the show and in the post game is just kind of like, hey, you can see examples of like Detroit, where
yes.
you think you're going to be there every year, and then you find out the league catches up to you, and then you miss. And they were the 1 seed last year, and now they're out of it. And they had a lot of returning guys, maybe some missing coaches, but you might be in the same boat. Vance Joseph's getting a lot of interest. You might have some missing coaches after this year. So Be greedy, recognize the opportunity. It's a wide open AFC, and I don't see any reason why the Broncos can't put themselves in the Super Bowl. But they got to take care of business, and they've got to be better. There's no doubt about it.
What does your gut tell you? Do you think they'll scratch out 2 home wins and get there? What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah.
I do like that opportunity. The home wins is the big deal. Like the home games is huge, and they've got to be more consistent. But they have the ability, they have the makings of it. I like the fact that they've had to win close games. I do like that they've had to grind out these games. They haven't had anything easy handed to them. I feel like that's going to come in valuable here in the postseason. It's going to be great.
All right, man, that sounds great. Ryan Edwards, 850 KOA in Denver. Ryan, appreciate the time, buddy. Enjoy the games.
Anytime, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, love him. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Rip City Drive. Michael Shacker's with me. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday evening. Blazers in action tomorrow. Tip-off against the Rockets at 7. Chris Burkhart will have game day at 5. And it's all live right here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Boy, there's nothing more depressing than coming up on the end of the show. Only 9 minutes to get to Vancouver right now because of some wreck up there by the bridge. 9 minutes to get to Vancouver right now because of some wreck up there by the bridge.
Good news. There's an extra hour of Chad on Rip City Radio.
That's true. All right. You know what I'm happy about is Jason Yates creating a yacht rock song for me for the Rip City Drive. It's amazing to me. Let's take a listen to this. We got to listen to some more. Jason Yates sent me a note and said, hey, I created a song for you. It's a yacht rock song. I was like, really? Let me take a listen to that. All right, so big thanks to Jason Yates. And we're going to let you enjoy some smooth rock on the way out tonight. Big thanks to our guests, Alex Brink, Colin Amos, and Ryan Edwards, Michael Shacker for engineering the program. I'll be back tomorrow at 3 right here in your home of the Blazers. Rip City Radio 620. Coming up next, the Section 113 podcast with me and Travis Demers here in your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Thank you, Jason.
Chad Doing's on the air, setting Portland free. From the motor center glow to the downtown lights, he's the voice that carries you up through dinner time. Tune into Rip City Drive, 3 to 6, where PDX comes alive. On 620 AM, let the good vibes play. Chad Smooth Talk will sail your stress away. Rip City Drive, your afternoon escape. Lock it in with Chad. He's the king of the airwaves. Talking Blazers hoops, every dunk, every win. Seahawks flying high, Hillsboro Hops playing again. From Oklahoma roots to the Oregon shore, Chad's got stories that keep you begging for more. Monday through Friday, he's your daily guide. Gift a gab on the mic, taking you for a ride. Tune in to Rip City Drive, 3 to 6, where PDX comes alive. On 620 AM, let the good vibes play. Chad Smooth Talk will sail your stress away. Rip City Drive, your afternoon escape. Lock it in with Chad. He's the king of the airwaves. No storms on the dial, just that easy flow. Chad Doing at the helm, running this show. From the Rose City walks out to Mount Hood to Sports Talk Paradise. Just me, you, and him. Let the radio waves carry every play he calls, like a yacht rock sunset as the evening falls. Oh, Rip City Drive, drifting soft and free. Sail away with Chad on that Portland sea. Rip City Drive, yeah, don't change that dial. Tune in, lean back, let Chad go.